Temple ranked dead last in rushing a season ago. I think it's time for me to lace up these cleats and provide a spark to the team.
All right, let's see what you got.
I'm back, baby! OwlSports Update is live.
And it starts right now. Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to OwlSports Update. I'm Emilie Cochrane, he's Max Gretzula, and behind us is Sage Hurley live at McGonigal Hall with the latest coaching update.
Let's jump right in. The women's basketball team has found its new leader, and it only took 2 weeks. Her name is Diane Richardson. We met her on Wednesday afternoon. Sage, what was your main takeaway?
Thanks, Max. There's a new face on North Broad. Diane Richardson is the next head women's coach of Temple basketball. And she's leaving TU to come to TU. She was previously the coach at Towson University for 5 years. During her tenure, Richardson led Towson to its first NCAA tournament appearance and produced Towson's very first player drafted into the WNBA. But get this, the woman wears many hats. Before her coaching career, she was named one of the top female business executives in the country in 1995. And even before that, she qualified to compete for the 1980 Olympic track team. Now, she's pursuing her passion, impacting women through basketball, and she hopes to do just that while coaching at Temple. But get this, when the hiring process was going on, the people involved in making that decision spoke with Coach of the Year and two-time national champion, North Philly's own Dawn Staley. And she said Richardson is the queen of the DMV. We'll see if she can hold up that reputation here on North Broad. Reporting from Pearson McGonigal Hall, I'm Sage Hurley. Max and Emily, back to you.
Thanks, Sage. Stop me if you've heard this before. The transfer portal gains yet another Temple Owl, this time in the form of Alexa Williamson. The senior forward departs Temple after 4 seasons with 1 year of eligibility left. Williamson averaged just over 8 points per game last season to go along with 5 rebounds and started 17 out of the 27 games played. He didn't go into the portal, but he's coming out of retirement. Former Temple men's basketball coach Fran Dunphy is returning to his alma mater. Dunphy will take over the role as head coach at LaSalle after spending 3 years away from the sidelines. At age 73, Dunphy will lean heavily on his experience that includes 850 total wins and 17 NCAA tournament appearances. He will try to guide the Explorers to their first NCAA tournament bid since 2013. The NFL draft is 3 weeks away, and one Temple prospect is using resources here on campus to overcome adversity and achieve his dream.
OwlSports Update's Taylor Hess joins us from the studio set to tell us more. Hey, Taylor.
Thanks, Emily. Only 1.6% of eligible college football players make it to the NFL. Currently, there are 26 Temple Owls in the NFL. We followed Joseph Hooper, who hopes to be number 27, as he prepares for the big day. It's not the best of odds, but Joseph Hooper knows them well. Only about 2% of college football players get drafted into the NFL, but Hooper is working to be one of them. Hooper transferred to Temple in 2019. The offensive lineman spent 3 years in the Owls program, and he's now working out full-time, hoping to have a shot at playing on Sundays. It's hard enough training for NFL scouts, but Hooper is also coming off a knee injury.
While I was training, I was pretty much doing jiu-jitsu while lifting.
Hooper maintains a close relationship with his teammates and receives advice and support from the new head coach, Stan Drayton. Temple allocates a lot of resources to its former student athletes, especially the ones who are this close to the draft. While Hooper spends the majority of his focus on the inside of the fence, it's the people on the other side that make him the standout player that he is.
The way that I look at it is, I'm just another guy trying to chase a dream. And, when you want the dream bad enough, you're going to try and do everything that you can to make sure you reach there.
Hooper is going to continue his training at his hometown in Hawaii. With the draft being on April 28th, his window to prepare is shortening.
My mindset was you're going to give it your 110%, and you're going to do what you can, because later in life, you're going to look back and be like, did I try everything?
Out of the 71,000 athletes who play on the college level, there are roughly 853 athletes that move on to the pro level. The drastic proportions show the amount of determination needed to go pro. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Taylor Hess. Max and Emily, back to you.
While some Owls are training for the league, two colors will be playing at 10th and Diamond this Saturday, the cherry and the white. The Owls are playing to impress the new coaching staff. Updates, Meg Doyle has more on the return of this longtime Temple tradition.
Thanks, guys. I'm here at Edberg Olsen Hall, where the fan favorite cherry and white game is making a comeback after 4 years. The 20-year-old tradition is being revived by first-year head coach Stan Drayton to conclude the Owls' 15 spring practices. Drayton feels that this is an important game that brings a lot of pride and pageantry to the campus. Around 5,000 fans are expected to come join in on the football festivities. This Back to the Future themed game is set to take place this Saturday, April 9th at 3 p.m. Reporting for OwlSports Update, I'm Meg Doyle.
If you need your spring football fix, you will not want to miss what Temple football has in store this Saturday afternoon. Following a street fair at 1 p.m., the gates to Edberg Olsen Hall will open at 2 p.m. with free admission to the public. Kickoff is set for 3 p.m.
Although the running back room is quite crowded this season, there are both new and returning Owls trying to stand out. OwlSports Update's Johnny Williams has the scoop.
There you go.
There is no question Temple's new coaching staff has an extensive to-do list, but improving the run game is likely near the top. The Owls' run game ranked last in the AAC this past fall, producing just 12 rushing touchdowns in their 3-9 season.
Continuing to build that offensive line, get the backs running downhill, get a little bit better production from the tight ends blocking, and of course the receivers on the perimeter.
The Owls' leading rusher, Edward Sadie, is returning. Sadie rushed for more than 300 yards, and the Owls also have dipped into the transfer portal to bring in Darvon Hubbard, who previously played at Texas A&M, not far from Stan Drayton's previous coaching job at the University of Texas.
Just this week, Danny Langsdorff talking about him, said he's got a good balance, good feel, got to get him running downhill a little bit more. But I think the talent is there.
The importance of a strong run game is even greater now with the uncertainty of who will be under center week 1 for the Owls.
You know, I think it's really important because of your play action. You know, the things you can do off of it. I think it takes some pressure off the quarterback for sure if you can run the ball. And I think defenses have to devote more to stop it.
Saturday's cherry and white game will give fans their first glimpse at Temple's backfield, not to mention some of the other issues on Stan Drayton's to-do list. At Edberg Olsen, I'm Johnny Williams, OwlSports Update.
As we highlight the running back group, I have my eyes on Darvon Hubbard. The Texas A&M transfer didn't see much playing time with the Aggies, but that doesn't mean he can't find success here at Temple. For example, Isaiah Spiller and Travion Williams are two recent tailbacks to come out of College Station with multiple 1,000-yard seasons under their belt. If given the opportunity, don't be surprised if the former SEC recruit turns some heads.
While you're banking on the new recruit, I have my eyes on redshirt sophomore Edward Sadie. The 3-year vet has seen consistent game action within these last 2 seasons. Although there is not a clear top dog right now, Sadie is the most experienced back in the room. I think he's definitely at the top of the mix, and there's a good chance we see him in the backfield at the cherry and white game.
It's break time, but coming up, we'll focus on a program that is creating a fresh identity with a new leader at the helm.
Yup, new coaches all over the place. OwlSports Update will be back before you know it.
The Temple volleyball team took a trip out to the main line last weekend and kicked off its spring season versus Villanova. The Owls were unable to hold serve throughout the first set and had no answer for the Wildcats' outside hitters. Villanova was living above the net consistently entering the second set, continuing to put pressure on the Owls. However, Temple was able to battle back and win the second set by a narrow margin. It was neck and neck throughout the third until an exclamation point, pun intended, by Peyton Boyne sealed the win for the Cherry and the White by a final of 2-1. As the coaching carousel continues in Temple sports, there is a new leader of the volleyball team that has already begun to establish some building blocks for the future success. I caught up with head coach Linda Hampton-Keith to discuss her thoughts about the progression of the team.
Coaching changes in any sport can leave a college program with more questions than answers. And Temple Volleyball is no different with new head coach Linda Hampton-Keith. She was hired in January to take over a team that finished 2021 with a 7-24 record.
Cultures take a long time to build, and so we've already started that process by having like kind of little small classroom sessions of just starting to just touch on that as what direction do we want to go in as a team, that we all agree on that together, and how do we want to build success from the bottom up.
Hampton-Keith is well traveled with 4 other stops at Division I programs, but Temple is her second go-around as a head coach.
There's so much to offer here, and so I think when we get recruits on campus and they see that, what Temple's like, what Philly has to offer, all of those things, it just becomes such a great appealing place to be.
As the new leader in the Temple locker room, head coach Linda Hampton-Keith hopes to change both the playing style and the culture of the volleyball program. She brings a resume that includes 4 consecutive 20-win seasons at NC State between 2016 and 2019, with hopes of sprinkling some of that recent success on an Owls program that at one point last season lost 10 straight games. With the spring season underway after knocking off Villanova, some players have already noticed the detailed preparation changes behind the scenes.
Practice is way more organized and everything is goal-oriented. We have small goals that we have to reach through our practice that will translate into the big goals when we go into a game, which is very beneficial.
After speaking with both players and coaches last weekend, there is certainly new life being poured into this team. There is still a long road ahead, however, and the next opportunity for this team to prove themselves will come Friday night at 7 p.m. on the road versus Delaware.
The lacrosse team went head-to-head with Vanderbilt on Saturday. The team had a whole week to prepare for its AAC rival, and it definitely showed in its 29 win. Junior Riley McGowan led in scoring with 7 goals, and grad student Quinn Nicolai had 4. She leads all Owls with 37 on the year. The team ended with 20 goals, which is the most the program has scored in a single game since 2012 in a matchup against Lafayette. Here's a word we haven't talked about in a while: COVID. The pandemic and its never-ending variants have forced 2 years of cancellations, postponements, and major adjustments. OwlSports Update's Tanner Gilmartin joins us at the studio set to tell us how certain teams have been affected. Hey, Tanner.
Thanks, Emily. The Owls didn't have a single team in the fall finish above 500. In 2019, Temple football finished its season at 8-5, appearing in the team's 5th straight bowl game. However, since the pandemic began, the Owls have suffered 2 losing seasons, just barely able to win 4 games. They now look to push their program forward with new head coach Stan Drayton. The men's soccer team has also been struck by the COVID curse. An 8-2 record with an AAC tournament second-round appearance looked promising to build off of. But this past season, the Owls posted a disappointing 2-12-2 record. Following a season-ending injury to Owen Goronsky, the Owls not only struggled on defense, but averaged less than 1 goal per game. Perhaps the only team able to beat the trend is the lacrosse team that has spun back-to-back under 500 seasons into a 13-6 record that took the Owls to the NCAA tournament last season, and now they sit atop the AAC as they hope to make that push back to the NCAA tournament. Max and Emily, back to you.
The Temple track and field team competed in the Big 5 meet last Saturday at the University of Pennsylvania. It was a record-setting day for the Owls as 3 distant runners placed on the podium. However, the 100-meter is where Temple shined the brightest, as the Cherry and White took 3 out of the top 4 spots. The team will come back to the nest for its first and only meet at the Temple Sports Complex this season. The meet will take place Friday afternoon, starting at 2 p.m. It's time to take a break, but when we come back, we hit the sports on the water and on the grass field.
Plus, as always, a fan favorite segment. Stick around as the mail is delivered. Welcome back. We've kept you waiting long enough. It's time for the Eminem mailbag. You submit questions on our Twitter page, and we answer them during the show. The first question comes from Chris Berger, and he wants to know who you think is currently the most successful coach to come from Temple.
So the first coach that comes to mind to me is none other than Dawn Staley. Staley coached the Temple women's basketball team for 8 years, leading them to 6 NCAA tournaments. In 2008, Staley moved south and inherited a team that had never been to the Final Four. 14 years later, the Gamecocks have made 4 Final Four appearances and won the national championship in 2017 and most recently this season against UConn, a program with 11 national championships under its belt. The next question is from Porter Deacon, and she asks, which Temple club sport do you wish was varsity?
One sport I would love to see join the varsity ranks is the Temple Ice Hockey Club. While the end of the season didn't go exactly as planned, the team finished with the most points they've ever had in a single season. With talent like current leading scorer Rob Pilarski returning for 2 more seasons, there's plenty of time to see this team win a championship. Plus, the program could benefit from a home ice advantage on campus, as their current venue is located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. As if a pandemic shutting down Temple wasn't enough in 2020, Mother Nature did the same to the crew and rowing teams in 2021, thanks to Hurricane Ida. But on Saturday, both teams were finally back in competition with some new facilities. OwlSports Update's Chloe Guessing explains.
It hasn't been an easy couple of years for Temple's crew and rowing teams. But Saturday, as part of the Murphy Cup, the Owls got to show off their new boathouse and new dock, both destroyed by Hurricane Ida last summer.
There's no such thing as a normal season, is what I'm learning.
It has been 9 months since Hurricane Ida hit the Philadelphia area. Boats, oars, docks, and other gear were all destroyed, leaving the team with nothing but cost for repairs.
This number makes my head hurt, but it had to have been over $500,000.
We're still finding bits and pieces of things that need to be replaced.
This dock has been the biggest question in Temple's return to the water. Crews have been rebuilding for the last 9 months, finishing only about 2 weeks ago. However, it is still missing minor parts, such as the bumper, which protects the boats as they come in from the water.
Although Ida damaged virtually every piece of equipment, it did not keep Temple from celebrating on Saturday. The Varsity 8 women's rowing boat brought the Murphy Cup to Temple for the first time since 1995.
They're an incredibly resilient bunch. They always have been, and I definitely think they always will be. So I'm really proud of how they pivoted and managed it.
But the intensity is way up. Like our erg scores and our weight room stuff is better than I've maybe ever had.
The Murphy Cup really showed how much progress we've made and how we can really jump over those hurdles and still be successful. So that was a great day for us.
At the Schuylkill River, I'm Chloe Guessing, OwlSports Update.
Tennis, soccer, and field hockey. Take it all in, Owls fans. The men's tennis team struggled last weekend, losing all 3 of its conference matchups versus SMU, Memphis, and Wichita State. The women's tennis team, on the other hand, dominated Binghamton 7-0. Some exhibition scores. First, the men's soccer team. It dropped a close one at Rider 2-1. And lastly, the field hockey team took a ride up to Princeton to take part in 4 games. After dropping games versus Princeton and Virginia, the Owls knocked off Rutgers 3-0 before tying its final matchup with Cavaliers 0-0.
Only 1% of high school soccer players ever get the chance to play at the Division I level. OwlSports Update's Max Green shares a new opportunity for student athletes trying to grab that unlikely spot. Hey, Max.
Hey, Emily. Temple Soccer gave everyone a chance to find their inner athlete with open tryouts in February. I spoke with several members of the Temple men's soccer team and Temple Grassroots to find out how both groups are helping one another. The road to being a Division I athlete usually comes from those offered a scholarship or those offered a walk-on spot. But at Temple, there is a possible third option for soccer players.
We're always trying to push people to challenge themselves and always to increase their skill level while playing soccer.
Grassroots Soccer is an organization that offers students of any skill level a chance to compete. And for the best, while rare, it may be the place to get those looking for a D1 spot on the right path.
We definitely will be asking people to apply for the D1 team.
I think everyone has a dream of playing in college soccer, and they're still working and grinding for that.
Some members of Grassroots Soccer use the weekly hour-long games here at Giese Field to attempt to take their talents a few blocks south
to the Temple Sports Complex.
Because in February, the men's varsity team hosted walk-on tryouts, searching for players who might be ready to play at the highest level on campus. 2 players did make the varsity team as walk-ons, neither from Grassroots. But the tryouts were a win-win. Grassroots gained participants, and the varsity team gained teammates.
I think our guys have embraced them and welcomed them. They're fully, ingrained in our team now, and I think that's important.
These new players will look to make an impact on a Temple men's soccer team that was decimated by injuries last season. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Max Green. Max, Emily, back to you.
It's time to take a break, but when we come back, we'll preview a very special.
That's right. Good stuff is coming your way when OwlSports Update returns.
Welcome back. Here at OwlSports Update, we produce content up to 5 days a week. So it'd be surprising if we had any time to create a Philly basketball documentary, right? Wrong. OwlSports Update's Johnny Williams has more on a special from OwlSports Update Productions. Hey, Johnny.
Thanks, Emily. That's right, folks. OwlSports Update Productions has put together a very special documentary called For the Love of the City. It's common knowledge that Philly is a professional sports city, but this special looks into the question, is college basketball's popularity an exception?
Philly is a basketball town, first and foremost. When we see the kind of effort and the kind of grit that's put forth, we love it because that's who we are, and that's the kind of basketball that we embrace and cheer for.
In this special, we will talk with Fran Dunphy, Phil Martelli, Mark Zumoff, Billy King, Herb McGee, Jim Lynham, and many more. We are very excited to share this moment with you all. Stay tuned for more promotions on our socials. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Johnny Williams. Max and Emily, back to you.
In the meantime, while we wait for the premiere, you can check out the weekend calendar that is jam-packed with 8 teams scheduled to compete near and far, including men's and women's tennis, lacrosse, and of course, Temple football. We finally get to see Stan Drayton lead his new team on North Broad.
I have a soft spot for the volleyball team after this week, so I'll have my attention on its matchup versus Delaware. After beating Villanova last weekend, the Linda Hampton-Keith era as head coach is starting out on the right foot. With players buying into this program, don't be surprised if this team continues to improve. With that being said, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Max Gretzula. Now I think it's time for me to get back on that practice field.
And I'm Emilie Cochrane. I personally think my fall was more elite than your spike, but I'll let this one slide. Have a lovely day, everyone.